Smarkdown Radio, Travis and Brother Bob, as always. And joining us on the line, we have a very special guest. He is a podcaster, broadcaster, the big boss CEO, day-to-day cigar master of American Rebel Cigars, and the author of this fantastic book, Smoke-Filled Rooms, Aaron Gulbransen. Aaron, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. I do want to say a quick thing. Obviously everybody saw last night with Roman Reigns coming out with leukemia. And I do want to just say that my prayers are with him. A real quick story on that is my mother recently, actually just a year ago, a few days ago, passed from a different kind of cancer. But in the middle of all that, I decided to try to cheer her up. So I gave her Roman Reigns's "I Can, I Will Believe That" shirt, and she wore that every day of chemo. So it was kind of a personal thing inadvertently last night watching him do that. So yeah, but all my prayers and thoughts are with him, and I'm sure he'll kick its ass.
Yeah, I think that's a universal sentiment. We've seen a lot of good energy and good thoughts out for him, and we started the show, our show that we just recorded previous to speaking with you, with a similar sentiment. I lost my father when I was 12 to colon cancer. So across this country, so many people affected by cancer with within their families and their friendships every day, and we really do wish him the best. It was really an emotional moment last night for anybody who was watching. It was kind of awe-inspiring to see that crowd just like, oh, this just got really real. And it was nice to see them, thank him and wish him the best. So I know Bob and I feel the same way. We're right there with you. So why don't we start a little bit? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as a wrestling fan, Aaron? How'd you get into wrestling?
Oh, geez. Well, it was kind of an amusing thing for me. It was my mother was very against, it was during the Attitude Era, of course, and she was very against everything that was going on right now. So I had to sneak it. And I practically grew up in a bowling alley. So, and it was during the era they had all these different kinds of wrestling themed bowling balls, like, and, they had the New World Order bowling ball, and they had the Austin 316 bowling ball. And, I just really liked the NWO logo. So I had to, I was like, all right, what is this? So I turned on the TV, mom and dad were either out of the house or I'd go in the TV in the other room and I'd kind of sneak it from time to time. So I started off as a WCW guy. I was, big NWO fan, still am. I've got to say at this point in my life, there's only, I mark out for the NWO and I mark out for the Undertaker. So that's what I would kind of do after I got into it was, I watched the NWO segments on Nitro and Thunder, and then I'd flip over and wait for the Undertaker to do whatever the Undertaker was going to do. I really enjoyed the American Badass character, and of course the dead man as he is and has been for a very long time is my favorite pro wrestler of all time. But my favorite group is definitely the NWO. Although SCU is pretty hot right now. So
SCU.
SCU.
You just made Bob very happy.
Actually, I got to tell a story about that at Starcast. And obviously it was a great success for American Rebel Cigars there, but it was so funny because when, we'd close the booth down, I'd kind of hang out, and there were a couple nights, I went out and had a beverage over with Frankie at their hotel, but I was sitting just in the lobby kind of waiting to get a text from somebody, about what I was going to do next, and a most random chant in the world. There were three guys trying to, I guess, get booed at the time or something. And, it's kind of odd since we were just talking about Roman, but you just started chanting Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns. And the reaction back was SCU, SC. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah. SCU.
And I texted Frankie that as it was happening, and he goes, what the hell?
Yeah. SCU was over at Starcast. Like I went in not expecting that kind of reaction, and like every time they entered a room, it was SCU from everybody. It was pretty surreal.
So your other passion and kind of what brings us here besides wrestling is cigars. When did your passion with cigars start? How did you get into cigars?
Actually, a very interesting story. I've had as you read my book, you can kind of figure out which character is based on me, and I've got to say it's 99% of that book is 100% true. I just changed all the names because I don't want anybody to sue me. So the character in the book, Ronnie Davison, and then me, and now I'm outing myself, but not like anybody can really figure that out. I was actually working as a producer on the Sean Hannity show. Back in 2001, and everybody's heard, if you've ever heard Rush, like him, hate him, whatever, you think he's this big pompous guy, right? And so for weeks, I'm being told, oh, Rush Limbaugh is coming in the studio in a few days, make sure you kiss his ass, right? And so me being a young kid at the time, I see him coming out of the bathroom. And I take the opportunity to meet, the guy that my mother listened to on the radio the entirety of my childhood and after that, and say, "Hi, Mr. Limbaugh, sir. I just wanted to say hello." And he looks at me and he goes, "What is this Mr. Limbaugh crap?" And I was like, "Oh, he's actually a nice guy." He goes, "Hey, kid, have you ever smoked a Cuban cigar?" And I, of course, said no. And he just handed me one out of his pocket. Now I have to point out that when I shook his hand, I had hoped the truth about this is that he hadn't finished drying his hands off from washing them in the bathroom, but I'll never know that since I haven't seen him from that day on. But yeah, so that was the first cigar I ever smoked. It was a Cuban Monte Cristo No. 2. I didn't really appreciate it the way I would today at the time, but I enjoyed it. I smoked it in Bryant Park in New York City. And you can't smoke there anymore, which I found that out a few years ago, and I tried to light one up there and got chased out by whatever those park cops are called, the pseudo police that go around there. But anyway, so yeah, that was my first cigar, and then I fell in love with cigars. I would go to the shops around me, whether it was I really got into going to cigar shops in about 2008 down in Chesapeake, Virginia, when I moved down there, because the cool thing about a cigar shop is it's like the act of smoking a cigar civilizes somebody. I mean, we've got guys, whether it's that, shops all across the country, or my local shops here in Richmond that I hang out in, there could be the richest guy in the room versus the poorest guy in the room who's using his last 50 cents he's using his last $5 to get a stick, and everybody has conversations. Nobody really puts on airs about it. You got Republicans, Democrats, independents, crazy libs, crazy conservatives, all having, conversations about politics, and then make it a little heated, but it's never nasty. And that's just kind of the world I like. And I think it's like the last bastion of that. I mean, you're never going to have a room of Fox News and CNN hosts and politicians together engaging in that kind of conversation and community. And the other thing is really, somebody dies, the last people to leave the funeral are the cigar guys. The last people to leave my wedding were my cigar guys. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world. And in my previous life as doing political consulting, you go through these periods of time where, and I'll tell the story, I have no problem telling it, but you go through periods of time where people step you out of money, and when you're relying on that, you get in a little bit of trouble. So I had a time where, and a guy I didn't really know well at the time heard me complaining about, I had a client screw me out of $50,000. And well, maybe I didn't necessarily need all of that, but I needed at least some of that to pay the rent, right? And I was complaining about it because I'd got the notice from the rent place saying, you better pay soon, otherwise you're gonna have to start eviction stuff. And this guy that now became one of my groomsmen, years later, in my wedding, he wordlessly leaves the cigar shop, comes back about 10 minutes later, hands me an envelope and says, "Pay your rent, and for God's sake, don't let me see you smoking cheap cigars anymore." Because I was a little low on money, but I was still buying cheap cigars for money reason. But yeah, and I opened the thing, and I opened the thing up, and it had way more than I needed for rent. And I actually had to go in the bathroom, and I teared up. And that's what the cigar community means to me.
And so, it's really interesting to hear you say that, because that's kind of my experiences smoking cigars with anybody that I'm around. There's this sense of just camaraderie and friendship, and and this open dialogue, and you can just sit back and have a conversation. And we are the last people to leave the room. We shut it down, and we'll stay there all night and enjoy that atmosphere for sure. I absolutely, that's my experience.
So many good conversations have been had at Blue Havana Cigars in Chicago. Man, just.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times that I've personally, 3 or 4 in the morning, almost everybody else has gone to bed. There's a handful of us out on a back deck someplace, smoking cigars, having a couple of beverages, and just enjoying each other. So, and it's interesting because your love of pro wrestling and your love for cigars have kind of brought you to where we are now, American Rebel Cigar. How did this happen? Where did this come from, other than, your and Cody and Kaz's love for cigars? How did this emerge? Where was this birth?
Well, it's so funny to me because I've obviously been I've been doing a couple podcasts with Frankie, and I've got to hear the story from their perspective. So this is the first time you're hearing it from mine, which is kind of interesting. Is apparently the lead up to it was I know they've been smoking cigars together, and they became fast friends when Cody left WWE and all that, and apparently they'd been either joking about it or saying something, like, why don't we have our own cigar? So one day Cody tags Frankie in a tweet. I'm sitting literally smoking a cigar. I smoke 3 or 4 a day at a minimum. So, I mean, it's, so I usually have one in my hand. I mean, if I lived, 50 years ago, I probably would never not smoke, period. Well, my wife wouldn't be happy about that part, but indoors. But anyway, so I see this tweet and I'm like, and I just look at it like, all right, well, I'll tweet back. I tweeted back and I'm like, yeah, there's no way anybody's going to see it because, the zillions of followers are probably tweeting back things like, cigars are cool or whatever. And I don't know, 10 minutes later, just something struck me. I was like, you should really follow through on this. So I figured out, I slid over into Frankie's DMs and I basically uploaded, told them at first I offered to just point them in the right direction. And then I offered up every regulatory, because I'm a regulatory specialist with cigars in addition to everything else. I mean, there's not many people that know more about, I toot my own horn, right? That know more about the FDA regulations and the upcoming and the state by state stuff. Because I worked as a cigar lobbyist, paid for a couple of years, and then did it for free for another couple of years. But so I uploaded essentially via direct message to Frankie the complete version of my brain, and going all the info, and then the next thing I get is I am putting Cody in this conversation. And so I see that pop up, and then Cody writes and says something like, so you're the guy Big Man Frank's been talking to tonight. What are we going to do? And I said, I'm, here's all the stuff I kind of give a brief overview. And then I said, here's my cell number and my email and all that. And, they sent all their info back over to me, and my wife I'm ratting her out, so she better never hear this. My wife is witnessing this going on because this has happened over the course of 6 or 7 hours of the day. And, I'm getting the phone numbers and all that. And then she's like, oh my God, you got their phone numbers now? Because she's a big wrestling fan too. She's a huge, so she was kind of marking out a little bit, and marking out a lot rather. And so, that was kind of it for a day or two. And I started making a bunch of phone calls. Because I know the guys over at Gurkha. I know you name a big cigar company, I know them. I know the guys over at General Cigar, Cigars International, and blah blah blah. I can bore you with all the name, but and so I was calling around, and then I was just sitting on the couch thinking about it, and I just said, because we had already made plans after that conversation to meet up in Baltimore when they were doing a show in Baltimore. I think it was June or something. Might be the end of June, but and before, like the week before that, I'm sitting around going, why don't we just do something at Starcast to see if this is even going to work, right? Because you never know. You could you can issue a new product and maybe the fans have no interest in it, and obviously they have an interest in it. That's why we're doing it. But yeah, so they both kind of looked at me and they're like, yeah, come to Starcast, do the booth. And I was like, okay. They're like, that's a bit tight, right? And I said, yeah. And in my brain, I'm like, yeah, I better make this freaking work, because this can lead to something big. But yeah, so I planned all the logistical stuff out. I made sure that we got the connections with, you can't just sell cigars and show up like you can a T-shirt. You got to. Geez, I forgot to put my phone on silent. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
It's not like it happened before.
Yeah, my sister's calling me. Yeah, well, let that one go to voicemail. But so, we're planning all this stuff, and then Frankie and Cody and I just really started bouncing ideas off of each other about other things to do, and the response was so good that we kind of convened after Starcast and was like, okay, it's time for the big release, and we're like, all right, well, the businessman in me is like, okay, how are we setting this up? And they're like, well, we're just the three of us, we're all partners. I was like, okay, cool, that worked.
Simple enough.
So yeah, no, I'm kind of underselling the amount of work that went into Starcast, mainly because I'm staring at the barrel of at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday, on the 25th of our pre-sale going on, because that required about 3 times the amount of work. But yeah, no, I sorry, I got distracted. But yeah, so I made the connections in one of the local shops up in Chicago, Banner Room Cigars, because like I was saying, you can't just show up and sell cigars. In most states, like 49 of them, without a license. So we had to go through them and made the connection, worked out all the logistical stuff there. I did, I got a shout out to McGeeky Designs on Twitter, because he actually, we worked together on, he sent a band concept over, and then, I kind of talked him through the edits that I wanted for it, and Cody and Frankie loved it. And I have to give them a lot of credit in the world, because they came up with some really fun ideas and different marketing things and that kind of thing. It's a really fun collaboration. It really, really is.
Yeah, I loved the band. I thought the band was amazing on the cigar. When we picked those up at Starcast, it was one of my favorite bands I've seen on a cigar. It just had so much of Kaz and Cody's attitude into it.
Well, and that's that was fun. I don't know if I said this publicly or not, but my day getting to Starcast was interesting. I had to drive I wanted to make sure everything, the first time we're doing this, right? So I'm not trusting people to ship things directly to the hotel. I made them all ship it to me. Drove from Richmond, Virginia, all the way to Chicago with a couple buddies of mine. Drove overnight. Left Richmond about 11 p.m. Got into my hotel at roughly noon local time. Looked at the bed after I checked in the hotel and said, well, I won't see you for a while. Threw my stuff on the ground, changed, showered, and then ran out to the cigar shop to band all of those cigars myself. And then of course, after the cigar owner realized, you guys are going to get you're going to need a lot more than that. And I was like, yeah, probably, right? Yeah, because originally it was just a limited she was offered me. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, you want to come by tomorrow and band some more? And I was like, sure. This is a good problem to have, but I was exhausted. But yeah. So there's a lot of there's a lot of their attitude and my sweat equity in those things that start.
Well, it was well worth it when we sampled the cigar. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Why don't you tell us, how did you guys come up? How did you select a cigar flavor profile? Was that based on your own palates? Was it more marketing based? Did you go with I know it's considered a medium body. What was the thought process behind that when you were actually picking the stick and getting that chose?
Well, no one's ever going to want to smoke something that if I were to pick it based on my own palate, then it would be like a triple Lajero cigar with a Connecticut broadleaf wrapper that would make you green to the gills. So I immediately started off the mindset with not something I would jump up and down over, on a daily basis. But we, and it's, I kind of laugh about it, and they're like, yeah, we really smoke mild to medium sticks, and they do. But then every now and then I'd see a tweet, Frankie smoking a Padron 64 or Cody's, smoking some, full body Cuban. And I just said to the guys, like, yeah, You're underselling your cigar prowess to me, but maybe I'm talking out of school on that. But I've given him a little grief for that. But yeah, we started off with the mindset we wanted a good medium cigar that had a little bit of that had some flavor to it, that everybody can enjoy, because the mindset is, of course, this may be the first cigar that anybody's ever smoked, and if you're coming at them with a full body stick, then chances are they'll turn green and they never want to touch the stuff, the cigar ever again. And, not just our cigar, but other cigars too, right? You sour the experience. But, so, we were talking through it, and I presented the options, and, I had some companies send some samples. And then, when I was talking to the people in Chicago, she kind of just gave me an overview of some cigars they could get, and that you're not going to really find anywhere that exact blend. So we had, and it was a nice stick, because it was Honduran tobacco. It was a mix of Honduran and Dominican. So you got the medium there, but I liked that the mix there in both, in all the filler, the binder, and the wrapper, that you still got the flavor out of it too. So that's kind of how we came up with that one.
Well, it was thoroughly enjoyable. And again, I smoke a lot of darker cigars. I'm double Maduro, triple Maduro guys when I could find them, and I really enjoyed it. That was one of my concerns. I was like, well, and I wanted to like it, because things like this, you see a lot of things like this, and sometimes you think, well, this is just merchandising. But
right.
when there's a love behind it, and you hear that they've incorporated you and your knowledge and expertise and their love and your love together, this isn't just going to be a purely marketing. This isn't going to be something that is thrown together. This is actually going to be a very quality product that just happens to be associated with something they love, that the fans can connect with them.
Right. And I mean, and that's exactly right. That's why, I mean, we all were very cognizant of the point that this may be the first cigar somebody ever smokes, and we don't want them to be discouraged from smoking another cigar, whether it's ours or another. But, and also, I mean, I know a number of wrestling fans, and a number of wrestling fans are big cigar guys. So you also didn't want, somebody going, oh, well, I bought the thing and it has Cody Rhodes' name on it and Frankie's name on it, and it sucks, but I bought it because I like the band. You don't want that. So, we made this commitment, and we're gonna do several different releases this year, and then we'll go back and look at what worked the best, and maybe we'll do a big giant release at some point. But yeah, none of these cigars are going to be. We're never going to release a cigar that I wouldn't enjoy all the way through it. That Cody wouldn't enjoy, that Frankie wouldn't enjoy. And for me, I mean, I got too many friends that would just give me a lot of grief. They're like, "Oh, you put out a crappy cigar." Well, I see you every day. That's all I'm going to hear every day. Too,
Yeah. You mentioned that these were Starcast exclusives. I believe you're got a different flavor profile for this upcoming release. How about you tell us a little more about what the stick coming out on the 25th is going to be like?
Yeah, and I know people like in the lead up to it, like, ooh, Starcast exclusive. Is this another wrestling trope? Nope. Those cigars were well, I don't know. I may release them again if there is another Starcast, but or some other like event. But yeah, this is a new flavor profile. This is all Nicaraguan tobacco. So it's the wrapper is Rosado, the filler is Nica filler, and the binder is Habano binder. For those of you who don't know any of those things, it's just different types of tobacco and different agings. The coolest part is, and you were the first people I'm telling this to outside a text message to Cody and Frankie. These cigars have been aged for 6 years. And to kind of translate it for members of your audience that may not really understand what that means, I basically just told you all that, yeah, it's a similar like a 20-year bottle, aged bottle of scotch. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, aging.
We're going with the best out the gate on this. We got to release a 5,000. They're only in 5 packs or boxes. I'm going to post some pictures. I've posted a teaser picture of one of the boxes, but the boxes are all hand painted. They're all, they got the big version of the band on there and a couple other cool things that once I post the photos, y'all will see on there.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and we're also working, or for this release, we're working with Sam Lucia, who you may know makes the Luchador. I don't know if you've ever heard of that cigar, but yeah,
I've heard of it. I have not had it. It's a familiar name that I have heard of before, though. It's really exciting that they were able to connect with you and you were able to connect with them on this project, because it is something that's going to be, when you hear age 6 years, this is definitely something you guys are going full bore with, multiple releases this year. And as somebody who enjoys cigars and is a fan of wrestling, and specifically both Frankie and Cody, obviously, it's super exciting to see this develop. And wow, I mean, what else can you say? Do you want to get the full slate of plugs in, Aaron? Where can people find these? Where can they find you? What's the best way to get their pre-order? Because I kind of want that too.
Yeah, no, it is just American Rebel Cigars starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have purchased or are about to purchase over the next, I don't know, when this airs, 30 hours, a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees, I'm going to be emailing personally out 10% discount codes on the sticks. Again, that's AmericanRebelCigars.com, AmericanRebelCigars.com. More for details if you're on Twitter. I am Aaron G Cigars, and I'm usually the one posting out the stuff, and then Cody and Frankie retweet, or they'll post their own stuff too. Which off the top of my head, what is at Cody Rhodes on Twitter and at Frankie Kazarian on Twitter too. Which is the amusing part of this process is I was a Facebook guy mostly before this whole thing. So, but you also have us on Facebook at American Rebel Cigars. Yep. So, yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get my batch of cigars from the factory, which are supposed to be here, I don't know, any day now. And I've got the one tip I've told Cody and Frankie is everybody's going to want to treasure each release. So go put 10 sticks of our stash in the humidor and just leave them there. Don't touch them.
Good advice. Aaron, I know you, with the pre-release coming up and everything you got going, you're super busy. I want to thank you personally. Thank you for taking the time, coming on the show, sharing. We're super excited to see where this goes. We hope we can call you friend of the show now, and as the releases continue to come, you can come back on the show and share more with us, because this was incredible. I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. I know I'm going to order a box as soon as I can.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll look forward to hearing your next review of the current stick. And the other little thing I do want to tease real quick is, and this won't be just in New York, but we're doing an event in New York City on December 13th, a ticketed event, which will blow away everything we did in Chicago. We're gonna be starting these events around the country, hopefully 6 to 10 a year. Where we do Q&As with with the fan. That's obviously a ticketed event, and it'll be different for each place we happen to be at. But drinks, cigars, special. I spent today designing the Smoke and Mirrors New York City wrestling belt, championship belt, which people will have an opportunity to win in New York City if they go. But we'll also be doing those for events all over the country too. So. That'll be coming up. So yeah, we're working on finalizing the details of other places, and I'm sure every place we do it will be the worst town Frankie has ever been in.
Absolutely. With that being said, is there anything planned for the Jericho cruise that is coming up? I know both Frankie and Cody are on that. I didn't know if there was anything planned with the cigar tie-in or not.
Well, this came together so quickly that there was nothing ever to really go through with the cruise company. So frankly, they would have had to buy the sticks from us. Frankie may have some with him and may offer some from time to time up, but nothing official. It's just mostly the hangout stuff. But I know he'll have some swag and stickers and stuff of that on him.
Very cool.
But if Jericho does it again next year. not even just for business, but for my wife and the health of my marriage. We will be on that cruise next year if he does it again.
Yeah, it was a little too close to Starcast for me this year, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, if he does that again next year, that might be a trip to take, because that seems like it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun.
And American Rebel Cigars being on board doesn't hurt the chances that I will go as well.
Yes.
So I mean, that's fantastic. Aaron, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks a lot, Aaron.
A huge thank you to Aaron Gulbransen of American Rebel Cigars.
Absolutely, man. He was a great interview. Fantastic guest. And hopefully we'll have him back on for something in the future.
Oh, yeah. It sounded like that. He definitely said that was an option. And man, like I feel, well, I guess it's going to come out, American Rebel Whiskey. By the time this video shows, Frankie have already tweeted it out, and the ticketed shows, and oh man, like lots of announcements coming, guys.
Absolutely.
That we didn't even get to cover because they're not public until after this was recorded. But check out their Twitters. Obviously, check out Frankie and Cody's Twitter and Aaron's Twitter. American Rebel Cigars. Get your boxes. Get your packs of 5. It sounds like this is going to be just product line, and moving forward, we're going to have a lot of this.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're talking every release going to be a little bit different, so I'd recommend, if you want them, order a box, and that way you have that run, because the next one will be different, and the possibility of them re-releasing isn't a guarantee.
No.
So
Stock up, put them in your humidor.
Yep.
And enjoy them for a long period, and get multiple releases, and see which is your favorite for sure. So
buy a American a Rebel T-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees, and Cody Rhodes Nightmare Family jacket, and smoke your American Rebel cigar while drinking some
we
American
sound
Rebel
like
bourbon.
a couple of marks. God, we sound like no, legitimately, and this is a great product. Cigar, even if you're not a wrestling fan, cigar lovers are going to love this product. If you're new to cigars, you'll be able to smoke it and enjoy it. So go out, support these guys, so they keep doing it for us. All right. Yeah. Like I really don't know what else to say. Fantastic interview. Thank you, Aaron. Thanks, Cody. Thanks, Kaz, for making this happen.
And if you enjoyed this video, remember we do a weekly show, and we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch.
We're around.
Like and subscribe. To sweet the bell to keep notifications of like new videos coming out.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go wait for this pre-order to hit. So I'm a too sweet this button.
All right, hit it.
See you.